Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. A pickup is totaled after a two-car collision caused it to burst into flames. The accident happened just before 9 p.m. last night at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and 48th Street in Kearney. The crash involved a pickup and a sedan. The impact sent the pickup off the road and into a control box next to a street light. The pickup started on fire almost immediately, and the driver exited the vehicle. The Kearney Volunteer Fire Department got the fire out after arriving on scene. There was an ambulance on scene as well, but it left without any patients. Nebraska's first Narcan vending machine was installed at Centerpoint this week, providing a life-saving resource for opioid overdoses. Naloxone, known as Narcan, reverses overdoses from opioids like fentanyl and heroin. The vending machine also offers first aid kits, safe sex kits, and deterra drug disposal pouches. The items available for free to anyone who approaches the machine and enters their age, gender, and zip code. Centerpoint highlights this initiative is essential for preventing overdoses and supports their harm reduction approach to recovery. The program's funded through a partnership with Region 5 and the Nebraska Pharmacists Association. Charges against a teenage suspect in a Midtown Omaha shooting have been upgraded after the victim, 24-year-old Cameron Watkins, died from his injuries. A 15-year-old appeared in court yesterday, now facing first-degree murder and evidence tampering charges, in addition to the prior charges of attempted robbery and assault. The judge denied bond. It had initially been set at $250,000. Douglas County Attorney Don Klein confirmed Watkins was an innocent bystander in the shooting near 40th and Franklin Street last week. Investigators believe the teen and his accomplice, 19-year-old Darnell Marion Jones, were trying to rob another individual, Marquise Jones, who also sustained injuries and faces charges. Marion Jones's charges will also be upgraded to felony murder. A driver facing charges after Omaha police say they stole a pickup truck and led authorities on a pursuit yesterday morning. The truck was towing a trailer with a bobcat during the chase. Police say the driver reached speeds of about 100 miles an hour. As they fled, the pursuit ended up crossing into Iowa, came back into Omaha. Authorities used GPS technology to track the vehicle to 20th and S Streets. Police say the driver had already fled the scene when they arrived. No word yet on any initial arrests. The investigation is ongoing. A 15-year-old has been taken into custody in connection with a South Omaha crash that resulted in the death of another teen and injuries to 5 others earlier this week. The boy is being held at the Douglas County Youth Center, faces an adult charge of manslaughter. Police responded to the scene near South 37th and X Street early Monday, discovering a stolen vehicle overturned and several injured teens nearby.
There's a kid that was on the ground asking me for help. There was something wrong with his leg. I think he broke his leg. And then the driver was distraught and freaking out and screaming because the passenger was laying out halfway outside the car.
A 14-year-old boy was partially ejected from the front passenger seat and died shortly after being taken to Nebraska Medicine with critical injuries. Investigators say they believe the vehicle grazed a parked car before colliding with another parked vehicle while traveling at a high speed. Witnesses said they estimated the vehicle was going at least 100 miles per hour. 5 additional individuals ranging in age from 13 to 20 sustained injuries and were all treated at the hospital. A southeast Nebraskan safely undergoing medical treatment after suffering a bite from a bat infected with rabies in their home. It happened Wednesday. The district health department says a bat confirmed to be carrying rabies bit a person in their home in Thayer County. Authorities say that person followed proper procedures, sought immediate medical attention. Health Services stress there's no ongoing threat to the public at this time. They are advising, though, all Nebraskans to follow the safety steps that you see on your screen to minimize any potential exposure to rabies. Lincoln Electric System deployed crews yesterday to assist with power restoration efforts in Georgia ahead of Hurricane Helene. 2 LES crews totaling 12 employees headed to Albany, Georgia, as the hurricane's expected to make landfall today. They're bringing 2 bucket trucks, 2 digger trucks, 3 pickups, 2 trailers, and a mechanic's truck. 6 employees from Grand Island also joining the effort. The crews are anticipated to arrive in Georgia by this evening. Utilities in the storm's path are pre-positioning workers and equipment while coordinating with state and local officials.
It's just great that you can go down and help do that. That's what we're here for. As soon as the storm hits, we're out. We're the guys that are going to go out and take care of that. Good group of guys, good company that goes out and always assists where we can.
The American Public Power Association's coordinating the effort. As a member of its mutual aid network, LES is reimbursed for the deployment costs. Most recently, LES assisted with restoration in Omaha after a July storm that caused a historic power outage. Several southeast states bracing for Helene's landfall, projected to be the strongest hurricane to hit the U.S. in over a year. Maribel Gonzalez is in Steinhatchee, Florida, one of the state's coastal regions expected to be hit the hardest.
Across Florida, a sense of urgency as Hurricane Helene nears.
Rather be safe than sorry, right?
Preparations underway as Helene gains strength over the record warm Gulf of Mexico. The monstrous hurricane slated to slam into Florida's Big Bend coast Thursday evening, bringing with it dangerous winds, flooding, and potentially life-threatening storm surges.
When you're talking about 120, 125 mile an hour, potentially in Tallahassee, certainly on the coast as that makes landfall, those are not numbers that we've seen in recent years.
Well, we gotta get prepared for the storm.
Mandatory evacuations issued for thousands of residents, nearly the entire state under alert.
But it's best to be prepared for the unknown, because if you're prepared, you can manage it better. Any crisis much better.
At this sandbag location, all hands on deck. In this time of emergency, those serving time in Pasco County's correctional system.
Hi, ma'am, you're all set, okay?
Now serving others.
Helping like today with sandbags and really focusing on the residents of the community that are elderly or infirmed or need some of assistance.
A couple years ago, I had to do it myself, and I have a bad back, so it wasn't easy. So yes, I'm very thankful.
In Steinhatchee, Florida, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
While parts of the south and east coast are preparing for rough weather from Hurricane Helene, Congress prevented a political storm. Republican and Democratic lawmakers averted a government shutdown less than a week before the deadline. But those political clouds will be back before the end of the year. John Lawrence has more.
Washington, D.C. will be keeping the lights on for at least a little while longer.
We should all be very glad that we won't have a painful shutdown, but let's also remember the pattern we saw play out here yet again, so that perhaps we can fully avoid another pointless repeat.
The bill approved by the House and Senate was a continuing resolution which funds the government until December 20th.
We are where we are. As short-term as we are, I wish we weren't here.
In other words, it's a temporary 3-month solution.
While continuing resolutions are never ideal, none of us like them, it's not a way to run a railroad, it allows Congress to continue serving the American people through the election.
While some House Republicans, 82 to be exact, voted against Speaker Mike Johnson's bill,
he was willing to give up everything to avoid a shutdown.
It passed through and then was approved by the Senate by a vote of 78 to 18. President Joe Biden applauded Congress for, quote, avoiding a costly government shutdown.
We will find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues on any issue whenever and wherever possible in order to make life better for the American people, deliver real results, and solve problems for hardworking American taxpayers.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is scheduled to visit the White House today, expected to make an urgent in-person plea to President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. It could be Zelensky's final chance to convince a receptive American president of his country's war aims. Details are unknown, except that Zelensky will meet separately with Biden and then with Harris. People familiar with Zelensky's plan say it includes again asking Biden's permission to fire Western-provided long-range weapons deeper into Russian territory. Zelensky will make the case that Ukraine can still win the war with Russia and does not need to cede Russian-seized territory for the fighting to end if enough assistance is rushed in. A Senate report was released yesterday on the moments leading up to an assassination attempt on former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Back in July, it found several security failures, including a counter-sniper who saw local law enforcement running with guns drawn shortly before shots rang out, but did not alert former President Trump's protective detail to the threat. Paula Reed has more.
Take a look at what happened.
Stunning Secret Service failures around the first Trump assassination attempt, detailed in a newly released bipartisan Senate report. Citing interviews with top Secret Service officials and local law enforcement who provided security at the July rally, the report concludes failures were foreseeable and preventable and found that many of the problems identified remain unaddressed by the Secret Service.
There was nobody in charge on the ground in Pennsylvania.
Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal heads a committee that worked on the report. He says change needs to come from the top.
The buck definitely stops with the head of the agency, the Department of Homeland Security, Alexander Mayorkas, has to take charge, clean house, replace this leadership, and provide full disclosure.
Among the failures highlighted in the report, failure to set up visual barriers, lack of a plan for how to secure the building where the shooter took aim, and general chaos of communications around the shooter's movements. The United States Secret Service lead advanced planning agents could not answer questions about who specifically was responsible for determining the perimeter and who approved the designation of the perimeter. And at least 2 documents the Secret Service created detailing security for the event contained errors regarding the positions of the local counter-snipers at the event. Multiple officials, including Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe, have acknowledged the issues that day.
It's important that we hold ourselves accountable for the failures of July 13th, and that we use the lessons learned to make sure that we do not have another failure like this again.
As criticism of the response that day has been a rare area of bipartisan consensus.
There were multiple failures of the Secret Service, and that things have to be better. You know, the ink was not even dry on the report until there was a second assassination attempt.
Even as former President Trump continues to praise those responsible for his security.
I give Secret Service a hell of a lot of credit.
While criticizing the Justice Department, which has brought criminal cases against him over his handling of classified documents and efforts to subvert the 2020 election.
The upper echelon of the FBI is all talk while they focus on the sitting president's political opponents. That's what they're doing.
U.S. suicides last year remained at about the highest level in the nation's history. Preliminary data shows a little over 49,300 suicide deaths were reported last year. That number could grow at least somewhat as some death investigations are wrapped up and reported. Just under 49,500 were reported in 2022. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention today released more information about recent suicide trends. It's the nation's 11th leading cause of death overall, but it's the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 14 and 20 to 34. The highest suicide rate for any group by far in men ages 75 and older. Colorado has a new welcome sign of sorts. It comes with a racist warning for drivers entering the state from Wyoming. Venezuela ahead, be prepared. That reads the sign along I-25 southbound. The billboard also says it was paid for by Clipper Properties Tim Millen member. Now, Tim Millen is the name of a Wyoming billionaire and Donald Trump's single biggest donor. He gave $125 million to a pro-Trump super PAC, according to political money trackers. The billboard thought to be a reference to the presence of a Venezuelan gang in the Denver metro area called Tren de Aragua. But this week, Aurora's police chief said that gang's footprint small compared to other gangs. The billboard company, meanwhile, Lamar, says it will be staying up through Election Day. A radio host in Hastings has been undergoing a 3-day stay on a rooftop, collecting donations for a good cause. After the first night, our Ryan Valenta caught up with him to get a recap of the first day of the event.
Ryan Valenta back with Brandon J. McDermott after the first night of the Heroes for Hunger promotion, where Brandon just spent an entire night on the rooftop of a 4-story building to help raise food donations to fight food insecurity here in the central Nebraska area. Brandon, what was that first night like for you? Did you get a little bit chilly? Walk me through last night.
It was a good night. I like it chilly as a big man, so I got about upper 40s. Got to bed about 11 o'clock. And of course, the sounds of the town, motorcycles speeding down and trains passing and normal traffic and what I thought were, phantom sounds on the roof woke me up about 3 o'clock, so I didn't get to bed after that.
All right, so all of this is being done, obviously, to raise awareness and donations for food insecurity. And the truck that we're looking to fill down there, 18 feet wide, we filled 8 of that, so just under a half yesterday full of food donations. Just what have you seen from the community outreach and support from just yesterday?
I just want folks to take a step back, and you hear you've only filled 8 out of 18 feet. There were so many donations yesterday. It was out of this world. At one point, we had 3 Hastings Public Schools trucks that were filled to the brim, pallets full of food. We put it all on the ground, looked at it, and it brought a tear to a lot of folks' eyes, just thinking about the impact that this food alone is going to have. Then we loaded it on the truck, and it was like 1.5 feet. So that speaks to the fact of not one person can't do this. We need everybody to donate, because that is a big truck. 18 feet is a lot of food, and it is filled to the brim like Tetris.
So you're still stuck up here until you fill that moving truck. What do you want to tell people who are considering donating to this cause?
Make sure you give, because this is going to help a lot of folks. And there's a lot of different items you can give, from peanut butter to canned foods. People think of those things. But toilet paper, paper towels, soap, those are the things, baby formula, baby diapers, those are the things that folks need that we don't always think about, that food banks are in desperate need of.
A reminder, you can donate food or make a monetary donation to the KHAS radio staff here at the Burlington Center in Hastings from now until Thursday and help get Brandon off this roof.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.